Hey y'all, good afternoon. This is Anthony with Mayhem Local Live. Today I have my good friend Mark Perry. Mr. Perry here, he's the executive board member of Clearwater Jazz Holiday, principal owner of Uptown Music and Arts Festival, and member host of Florida Smooth Jazz Foundation. We're gonna talk jazz today, huh?
We are going to talk jazz today. Yes,
All right,
sir.
that's
Absolutely.
good. There's a lot coming up.
Yes.
Between May, June, July, August, September. Clearwater Jazz is not just a event that happens in October.
That's correct.
It seems to be all year round, right?
Absolutely. The main event takes place in October every year. This year it'll be 16th through the 19th. However, we have a music series of events that takes place throughout the year, and it's under Clearwater Jazz Presents. This particular year, we've got a wonderful lineup of events that are going to be coming up starting on May 17th, and that's going to be at the Largo Central Park, and that will be with our Young Lions. And our Young Lions, the interesting thing about them is these are the young people who have been supported by the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation. A lot of these kids are all students, and they've all been part of music education programs supported by the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation. And they'll be presented on May 17th. Following that will be May 22nd at Aspirations Winery. That's going to be another event that we're going to be doing. That's a live music event as well. Following that would be June 18th. That's going to be at the Floridian in St. Petersburg, and that's a new venue for us. That happens to be a great venue. We're excited and happy about going there, and we're hoping that a lot of people are going to come out and not only see that venue, but see the great music lineup that we're going to have for all of them. And then coming again in July, that's when we're going to be doing the Central Park Performing Arts Center again with another lineup of music. And then August 22nd, and this is great, folks, we're going to be at the Palladium. And we're going to be putting on a show there. In fact, Vincent Ingala, who is an incredible artist, is going to be our main featured entertainment. But we do a series of events there on that particular day as well. So there are a lot of great things coming up for Clearwater Jazz in 2025.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the artists that are lined up. Largo Central Park.
Well, for Largo Central Park, for the most part, on our beginning, that's going to be the Young Lions, like I said originally. And then for some of the others that are coming up, we've got Vincent Ingala again is going to be on the 22nd of August. But our summer jam that we're going to also be doing, that's going to be Allison Nash. I'm trying to read this because my eyes are Jeremy Carter. We got Patrick Benson, and then Mark Feynman. Mark Feynman is a great artist, local artist. He is part of an incredible group called La Lucha. He puts together these incredible series and artists for us when we do these monthly events leading up to our main event. So a lot of the entertainment that you're going to see is absolutely world class. And the surprise that you're going to get is how many world-class musicians are from right here in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has a huge music community.
A huge music community, and they are not just local guys. These guys travel all over the world.
Yeah, just something, even that Doechii said when she got her acceptance speech for her Grammy, right?
Right.
She said, take a look at Tampa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talented people down in Tampa, Florida.
A lot of talented people down here.
Yeah.
There absolutely is, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, these are just a few of the events that are coming up, and I would encourage you to go to clearwaterjazz.com, and there you can see all of the information leading up to every event that we're going to be doing throughout the year. And though we don't have our October lineup out as of yet, it will be coming. So by all means, you want to stay tuned, and you definitely want to log on so that you're in the know and you're well informed of the events that Clearwater Jazz has coming.
Yeah, I definitely, when I was younger, I started going to the Clearwater Jazz Holiday in Coachman Park. And every year I went and I saw another artist that I might not have, because I was younger, I wasn't turned on to from, the jazz standpoint of the radio. And, but every single year there was one artist that stuck out where after October was done, I went and I bought all their CDs every year.
Every time.
One that I will just probably never forget was Etta James.
Oh, yeah.
When she played.
Oh, yeah.
And she came out and they put her up, on the stage. At that time, she had gained a lot of weight.
Yes.
And she sat down for the show, but I never saw anything like that. That lady was off. She turned that park out.
Absolutely.
Everybody was dancing. That park was out of control. And when I was done, within a week, I had 10 of her CDs, But
and that happens regularly. It really does. And I think I can't emphasize enough that when you think about jazz, you have to think about it in a different level now. Jazz isn't what your grandparents used to listen to or even what your parents used to do. Contemporary jazz is a whole new thing. It's a whole different concept. And you would seriously be missing out if you did not become familiar with some of these artists because they are mind-blowing.
Yeah. Again, not being of that jazz, genre. I was product of the 80s. I was listening to Poison and Motley Crue and Madonna and Prince.
Right.
But, when I got older, I had appreciation for a lot of different music.
Right.
And, when you go out there and you can, you appreciate some of the artists that are there. Mindy Bear. She killed it incredible. Every time she was there. She killed it.
Another local talent. Mindy Bear came from Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Also, Eric Darius. Tampa Bay.
Boney James Jackson was there many years.
Absolutely. Boney was just here not too long ago. BK Jackson is one of ours from here.
Yeah.
But when
he went to Blake High School.
Blake High School, absolutely, Blake. And so did Eric Darius. He's a Blake High School alum.
Yeah.
But when you think about these young guns coming up, Vincent and Gal and all these people, they are incredible. There's another guy out there, Evan Taylor, Kyle Schroeder. These are people who are absolutely world-class. A lot of them come from right here in the Tampa Bay area, but they're traveling the globe. And it would just be doing yourself a dishonor not to be familiar with them, their music, and their representation of where we come from.
Yeah. I have to laugh. When I started Mayhem magazine, I had no idea how many huge national artists called Tampa Bay their home.
Right.
And they're quiet. They're not public. They kind of keep to themselves. Nobody even knows. And
absolutely.
And one of the covers that we had for Mayhem magazine, we did John Blackwell. And, rest his soul. John was a great guy, but at any given time you could go out to the pier in Madeira Beach and he would be fishing, just sitting there. He'd be on tour with Prince. Flying around the world, playing to hundreds of thousands of people. And then he'd show up here and go out and go fishing off of here.
BK Jackson was one of Prince's horn guys.
I know. And, it was
Adrian Crutchfield.
It was pretty sad for me. I was a huge Prince fan. And, I went to BK one day and said, hey, is there any way you could? And he went, no. And I went to John Blackwell and said, come on, is there any way I can meet him? And he went, no, don't even ask.
Right.
So,
but that was a Prince thing,
Yeah, I know. It was Prince.
It really was. And, Marcus Anderson, he's another one of the original horns for him. So there are a lot of people who have international, tentacles that have gone right from Tampa Bay.
And, the funny thing about the Tampa Bay music community, it's a very big town, but it's a very small city.
It is.
And, I remember a lot of the venues that have come and gone, whether it was the Jazz Cellar in Ybor City or even, some of the outdoor spots that we used to go and see, the Fox, right? Okay, a lot of these local musicians that are huge, they're very approachable.
Yes.
Eric Darius, when he played the Black Music Heritage Festival in Curtis Hickson Park one year, he was just standing on the side there. Anybody could walk up and shake his hand and say hello, and they did.
And you could have done that last week when we had the Heritage Festival music series. Eric Darius was one of the headliners. Yeah. And he was right there and open and available to everybody that wanted to be a part of it.
They're very down to earth people. They really they love meeting the fans. They love interacting. And there's not, 16 bodyguards in between you and them. And they turn and shake hands with everybody I've ever seen.
And
so.
you find out a lot with the local artists because they realize they didn't get where they were without the people in their communities who supported them all that time till they reached the trajectory that they were currently at.
I heard somebody say that they were a celebrity when they were in Chicago, but in Tampa they were just home.
Home, exactly.
And that's such a different meaning and feeling.
Absolutely.
When you come here and you're just home.
You're just home.
You look at somebody like Casey Grillo.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Grillo is the drummer for Queensryche. Flies around the world. He's over playing in San Pablo or wherever, and then he comes here and he just goes to Publix and gets his dinner.
I'll tell you who else is like that.
He's just a normal person.
I'll tell you who else is like that, believe it or not. Right now, I guess coming up here pretty soon, AC/DC will be playing here. I met Brian Johnson a million years ago.
Yeah, he lives down in Sarasota.
Yeah, he's right down in Sarasota. And he is a very approachable person when he's home. Before that, he lived down in Fort Myers, which is where I met him. And, we became kind of quick friends and what have you, but very approachable, really nice guy. I never did the entourage thing to hang out or whatever have you, but when we had our moments, we had our moments. But that's when you've got people that are that incredible, that are local, it's refreshing to see them not on stage.
Yeah. It's different.
Yeah.
And it's
we
like
live around.
They wear two different hats.
They wear totally two different hats.
Let's talk about Aspirations Winery.
Okay, Aspiration Winery.
Allison Nash.
Allison Nash will be there. We got Jeremy Carter, another local guy. Mark Feynman is an incredible musician, but he's also a credible, music director as well. Mark, we've leaned on him at Clearwater Jazz a few times to put together musical lineups on a local nature, and he does a really great job bringing in awesome talent. Patrick Bettison will be at that event as well. And I won't even try to say it all together because Alejandro. So these are people that you want to hear, you want to know, because you don't get this kind of entertainment all in one place, all at one time, all the time. And Clearwater Jazz makes that a possibility.
Yeah. I again, like I said, I've gone to the Clearwater Jazz Holiday, main event every year since 1983.
Yeah, but you would be remiss not to mention the fact that you've been part of our media at one time.
Yes.
This guy was part of our media organization at Clearwater Jazz. Certainly his experience and his involvement is pretty extensive. So, when he says I've gone, he doesn't mean that he's just been sitting around. He's come to work, and he did great work the entire time that he was with us. So.
Yeah, I tell you one thing though that I have to laugh. Whenever a guy is single and they buy things that are theirs and they have them, and then when they get married, one day your wife opens up the closet and goes, "You don't need any of this, right?" And one day my wife went into the back room, the back closet, and she opened it up and she said, I heard her, "What is this?" And I said, "Don't touch it, leave it alone." And it was all of the Clearwater Jazz posters in the tubes. Every year I would buy
right.
And then I would go put it in the stack. And I never had them framed because I knew that the collection was growing.
Yeah, so big,
and I went all the way back to 1981, I think it started. Was that it?
I believe so. Yeah, 81.
1981?
Yeah.
And I think in 1990, I went back and bought the retros that you could get reprinted, right?
Right.
But I have every Clearwater Jazz poster from 1981 to beginning all the way through. The piano with the crab on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and folks, it's our 46th event. I can't say 46 years. It's been around for 47, 48 years, but because of weather conditions, we didn't have it last year because of all the hurricanes, unfortunately. Yeah. And so this is year 46 coming up, or event 46. Yeah. So there's been a lot of Clearwater Jazz.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. I think the theme this year is back to our roots.
Yes.
Okay. So, back to the roots. Obviously it was in Coachman Park
Yes.
from day one, is what I remember.
Okay.
I know a couple of years they expanded and went out to the beach for a little bit,
Right.
but it's still the main event was
In
there.
Coachman Park, right?
What does Back to Our Roots really mean for you and the Jazz Society?
So when Clearwater Jazz first started, you brought your blanket,
Yeah,
you
I
brought
remember.
your chair, you brought whatever, you hung out on the lawn, and
The
you
good old
enjoyed
days.
it. Absolutely. Obviously, as the event grew, got bigger, along with that came great responsibility, expense, and everything else
Yeah.
like that.
And you know what though? And back then there were two banners on the side of the stage.
Right.
One said Marine Max and the other one said Mercedes.
Right. Exactly.
That's all they
That's
needed.
all that they needed. Now, as you can imagine, 46 years later, this is a very large and expensive undertaking. And not just because it's expensive to put on, but you have to understand that Clearwater Jazz Holiday and the foundation, their job is about education. It's about bringing education back to communities that just don't have it anymore. It's an opportunity to bridge where kids would be disenfranchised, giving them a focus and potentially a future. That's the mission, is to give music education where it doesn't exist, to offer opportunity and hope to kids who otherwise wouldn't have it. That's the mission, okay? So those need to be funded, and that comes at a cost. Well, at some point in time, we went to being a paid event. Not expensive, but a paid event. And now, when we say going back to our roots, that's a twofold type of a thing, okay? Back to our roots means that now we're going back to Coachman Park, but instead of being in like the big venue that you have to pay, you can now come back to bringing your blanket, bringing your chair. There will be sections set up just for that. Also, there's going to be several different stages that'll be working during Clearwater Jazz. It'll be our main stage, and then we'll have other satellite stages around the park where entertainment will be going on the entire time that we're occupying that period of time.
Yeah.
Now, we won't be in the sound. We will literally be in the park. So it's going to be all of Coachman Park will be Clearwater Jazz Holiday over that October 16th through 19th.
And it also said in the notes on the Clearwater Jazz site, it mentioned that there is a lower plaza and a promenade pier.
Absolutely.
So,
and out on the pier, there will be music. It'll be set up. Folks, there's no way for me to give you the entire dynamic of how incredible this is going to be for you this upcoming year. But out on the pier, there's going to be music. It's going to be set up. There'll be a bar out there. You'll be able to sit back, relax. There'll be beautiful chairs sitting out there for your comfort. The entertainment is always the main attraction. In the lower plaza, there will be featured entertainment on that lower plaza stage throughout the day. All of those things will transition into the main stage, which will start off in the evening. So it's going to be quite an experience for everybody. There's something literally for everyone. Now, yeah, there are VIP sections that will be available. Those are paid VIPs. That comes with so many amenities. I can't even begin to explain what they are, but I tell you what, if you are so inclined, I would do the VIP if you are willing to do so, but you don't have to, you're not required to. Only thing you're required to do, bring a blanket, bring a chair, and bring the expectation of having a great time.
VIP has always been a good spot. You know,
Clearwater Jazz Holiday does VIP like nobody else.
Yeah, the food.
The food is always experience, good. The VIP comfort, section. It's just catered to. Yeah.
I will say though, yes, VIP area is very nice, but there's still something about going down that row of all those restaurants on the side.
Absolutely.
And getting a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
There will be plenty of vendors to meet just about every type of taste that you could possibly have. Yeah. It's Clearwater Jazz Holiday and the actual event itself really is an experience. It's a total 4-day experience.
It's a whole weekend.
And it's 4 days of nothing but stimulation of every type that you can imagine, with music being the main focus of the stimulation that we're going to provide for you.
Yeah, it's always a great weekend.
Yeah, we love it.
Is there anything that, for anybody watching that would potentially be going, is there anything that they need to know about seats versus lawn?
My best advice would be literally go to the website. Everything that you could possibly want to know is going to be provided for you as information, usable information, as to what your expectation should be and can be as far as what the expectations going to be.
And you know, I moved down to Florida in 1983.
Mhm.
And I remember our family, we moved to Clearwater while we were waiting for our house to be built in Tampa. And we went to the jazz festival that year. And I remember it, you know, everybody bought blankets and lawn chairs, and it was a big, small event. It really was not as massive as it is today. And then I remember, you know, a couple of years later, you know, the artists got a little better and a little better and a little better. And then one day we went, and when the headliner was on, I turned around and I looked, and it was just a sea of people all the way to the back to the library, all the way up the hill.
Right.
And then the next year when you went, it was, you know, oh, we're saving this area with this big tarp and this blanket. And, you know, my 19 friends are showing up. And so I when later on, when they did introduce tickets and seats, you know, there were people that complained, you know, oh, this was supposed to be a free event. It always has been. But it was nice to know that I had a chair to sit in. And I didn't have to, you know, fight somebody for
a space,
a 3-foot space to put my folding chair down at. So it, you know, of course it has its pros and cons, but I think that, you know, if you want to get a blanket and sit up on the grass, that's a great way to do it.
But if you want to go get a seat, and if you want VIP, I suggest VIP.
Yeah.
But if you want preferred seating, we have that available to you. When you think about the entertainment and everything that you're going to get over that period of time, the cost it's just negligible. It really is. Yeah. Even in the VIP, when you look at the cost for what you're getting, it's negligible expense. It really is.
And you know, though, the big difference here is back then I was young. And I could sit in the grass with no problem.
Exactly.
Now I am old. I want a chair.
I want to be comfortable. Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely want to be comfortable.
Look, you can get down in the grass, but at our age, getting up from the grass is the challenge.
Couple other things. You know, I noticed that, you know, not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago, you did the Black Heritage Music Festival.
I did do that.
That was in Curtis Hickson Park,
That was in Curtis Hickson Park.
Okay. But it's not over.
No, the Black Heritage Festival has been going on. This is year 25.
Wow.
And I was privileged to kind of consult with them on some of the things that they were going to be doing. And then this past music series that just took place in Curtis Hickson Park, I actually was the host MC for that actual event. It was 2 days. Great music. There was Brick was there. I don't know if any of you remember Brick, but of course, Morris Day and the Time was out there. And, you know, Eric Darius was also a part of all that. Boney James was out there. The music lineup was second to none. It really was.
And, you know, a couple of years back,
Clearwater
Jazz Holiday, we had Morris Day and the Time.
Absolutely.
And Sheila E.
Woo. Something interesting about that.
It was a great show.
It was not only a great show, but I don't know if you remember this. Sheila E. decided she was going to do Purple Rain. She got up, the music started. My right hand to God, it started drizzling as they were playing Purple Rain. And by the time the song ended, while everybody was going, oh my God, it feels like it's rain, it feels like it's rain. And when she was done with the song, there was no more raining.
It stopped.
It stopped. And I have been moved by that ever since. It's kind of like, that's one of those things that only happens, which never happens. It just never happens, but it did.
Prince played the Super Bowl. And it started raining 2 seconds before he hit the stage.
There you go. And unbelievable, but and so that was an incredible thing.
I don't remember the rain because I was on the side of the stage.
Exactly, doing what you do.
I was on the side. So
I was actually in the pit. Okay, and that's when I was able to deal with the rain. But the Black Heritage Festival, 25 years, they've been doing this, and they've moved and advanced forward very well going forward. Their music series went from being in January because of the weather being too cold. Now they've moved it to April, which was the event that we just did. It was extremely well attended, and it was well put together as far as the lineup was concerned. It just, it was a good event.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You have a gala coming up, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not over. The Black Heritage Festival actually goes through over a series of months throughout the year. And the gala that is getting ready to come up, and that's going to be on the 17th, I believe.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful event, the gala that they do. Go to the Tampa Black Heritage Festival, look up the gala, and look at the events that they're actually doing. It's a wonderful event. It's one of those chances. I love this every once in a while where you can actually get dressed up and go out and really have a good time. We don't always do that, but this is one of those opportunities where you can get into character, dress up really nice, take a wonderful lady if you're so fortunate to have one in your life, and go out and really enjoy yourself, and for a good cause.
And it's going to be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Absolutely.
So are they going to have dinner? Is there going to be food there?
There will be food there. There will be music there. There will be plenty for people to enjoy. Obviously, there's always libation and what have you, but you're going to go be rubbing shoulders with some pretty incredible people as well. It's always just not only a social experience, but it's a wonderful cultural experience.
Excellent. I look back at some of the Black Heritage festivals that we've had in Curtis Hickson Park, and again, local people just they bring it. Nathan Mitchell's always there.
Yeah.
Latreia Savage, she has played in the past.
Absolutely.
BK, he turned the park out with Eric Darius that one year. I mean, again, it's a great party.
It is.
It is a great show, great party. It's one of those musical events that you kind of look forward to every year because the music's always on point.
It really is.
It's always top notch. But so Mr. Perry and I are going to be doing series of videos here coming up over the next, let's say, 6-8 months. We'll do one every other month or so. Get together, kind of update everybody of what's going on. Mayhem Local Live on Facebook. You can go there. There's always calendars for what events are going on. But as far as local musicians, we're going to start incorporating some of them into our little podcast here, I guess,
Sure.
Kind of bring them in and talk with them a little bit. But thanks for coming out, man.
Hey, look, brother, always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Always,
we just invited them into our little thing. That's all.
There you go. It's just conversation for us. Y'all just get to watch.
Well, thank you for tuning in.
Have a good one.
Take care, folks.